The siren screamed through the dusty Dallas street as Ethan Cole's body hit the ground beside the bulldozer. His co-workers shouted his name, but his eyes rolled back, the world fading into static. Inside the hospital, his phone rang over and over, vibrating on a metal tray. Vanessa Cole, his wife. "Should I answer?" the nurse asked. Dr. Lewis frowned. "She's at a party." Music boomed through the speaker when they finally picked up. Champagne popping, laughter, a man's voice toasting, "To love, loyalty, and new beginnings." Vanessa's laughter followed, sweet and cruel. "Oh, Ethan," she said. "He's always tired. I'll check on him later." The nurse's hand trembled as she ended the call. She turned to the unconscious man on the bed. "He almost died and she's celebrating," she whispered. Moments later, the heart monitor beeped once, twice, and steadied. Ethan's eyes opened. He stared at the ceiling, whispering her name. Not in love, but in disbelief. Outside, fireworks from Travis Reed's birthday painted the night sky over Dallas, the same man Ethan once called his brother. And that night, as his wife danced under another man's arm, Ethan's silence began to build something far more dangerous than anger. A plan. The day Ethan Cole collapsed, the air in the Dallas construction site shimmered with heat. Sweat streaked down his temples as he checked the final measurements on a concrete pour for a government housing project. His phone buzzed. Vanessa again. "Don't forget Travis's party tomorrow," the message read, followed by a heart emoji. He smiled faintly, despite the exhaustion slicing through his chest. Minutes later, as he bent to pick up a blueprint tube, the world tilted. The edges of his vision went white. Workers shouted as he hit the ground, clutching his chest. An ambulance screamed through the dusty lot. By the time they reached Dallas Mercy Hospital, Ethan's pulse had slowed to a fragile thread. The doctors fought to stabilize him, tubes and monitors blinking around the bed. When Dr. Maya Lewis finally got a chance to call his wife, Vanessa's laughter floated through the phone. The thump of background music nearly drowned her words. "Oh, is it that serious?" she asked, barely audible. "I can't leave now. It's Travis's birthday. Tell him I'll come in the morning." Dr. Lewis's eyes hardened. "Ma'am, your husband nearly died." "Then call me if he does," Vanessa snapped, and hung up. Hours later, Ethan's eyelids fluttered open. His body ached. His throat was sand dry. He turned weakly, expecting to see his wife's silhouette near the bedside. Instead, he saw only the faint reflection of an empty chair. The clock read 2:43 a.m. Morning sunlight spilled through the blinds as nurses whispered about how she still hadn't shown up. One of them, pity in her voice, said, "Sir, you have a good heart, but some people, they don't deserve it." Ethan looked away, silent. His phone was full of messages, from colleagues, from his mother, from everyone except her. By noon, Dr. Lewis found him sitting up, quietly signing his discharge papers. "You shouldn't leave yet," she warned. "Your heart's under strain." He gave a faint smile. "Don't worry, doctor. It's not the heart that hurts the most." Outside, he stepped into the blinding Texas sun and saw Vanessa's car speed past the hospital gate, music blasting, her hair fluttering in the wind. She didn't even glance his way. He stood there, watching until the car vanished in the distance. Something inside him, something that had always believed in forgiveness, fractured. He whispered to himself, "You chose the party, Vanessa. Now, let's see how long the music lasts." The next morning, Ethan sat at the edge of the hospital bed, staring at the line of sunlight creeping across the tile. Every breath felt heavier than the one before. Vanessa finally walked in wearing oversized sunglasses, her perfume filling the sterile air. "You look better," she said flatly, scrolling her phone. "They said it wasn't a heart attack, right?" Ethan nodded, too tired to respond. She didn't ask how it happened. She didn't touch him. She just talked about the party. How amazing the food was. How Travis's speech made her cry. Ethan listened in silence, feeling something unfamiliar. Distance. Not anger yet, not even disappointment. Just the awareness that the woman standing in front of him was no longer his. That night back home, the house smelled like roses and champagne. A half-deflated balloon lay on the floor. His dinner was cold on the counter. He sat alone listening to her laugh on the phone in the next room. "Yeah, he's fine now," she said to someone. "Just stress, I guess. You should have seen Travis dancing. It was wild." The name hit him like a pulse of electricity. Travis Reed, his old friend, his business rival, the man he once trusted with everything. When she ended the call, Ethan asked quietly, "Travis threw a good party?" She smiled, distracted. "The best. You would have been bored anyway." He nodded, pretending not to notice the way her cheeks glowed when she said Travis's name. In the following days, Ethan returned to work early, ignoring the doctor's advice. His colleagues welcomed him back, but he noticed whispers, the way some avoided eye contact when they mentioned his wife. At night, Vanessa came home late, claiming new event planning clients. She always smelled faintly of expensive cologne that wasn't his. One Thursday, while folding laundry, he found a hotel receipt tucked into her coat pocket. The Crestline Suites, room 408. Paid in cash. He stared at it for a long time. Then he placed it neatly back where he found it. No confrontation, no shouting, just silence. Later that night, as she slept beside him, he scrolled through his phone and typed a message he'd never thought he'd write. "Detective Jared Banks, Private Investigator, Dallas." He saved the number, then turned off his phone and lay in the dark. The ceiling fan spun slowly above him, whispering a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. Steady, quiet, dangerous. Tomorrow, he told himself, he would start finding the truth. Tomorrow the kindness would end. Days turned into weeks, and the silence between Ethan and Vanessa grew thicker than smoke. He moved through the house like a shadow, calm, polite, invisible. She, on the other hand, seemed to glow more each day, always laughing into her phone, always in a rush to leave. Ethan's nights became restless. Sometimes he'd stand by the window, watching the driveway, listening to the fading sound of her car tires disappearing into the night. He stopped asking questions. He stopped hoping for answers. Instead, he began collecting truth. Detective Jared Banks arrived one chilly morning, an older man in a plain gray suit. His voice was firm but gentle. "You're sure you want to do this, Mr. Cole?" Ethan nodded. "I don't want to guess anymore. I just need facts." Banks gave a simple nod. "Then you'll have them." Days later, the first photos arrived. Black and white stills tucked neatly into a sealed envelope. Ethan opened them in the quiet of his home office. In the first picture, Vanessa was stepping out of the Crestline Suites in a red dress, her hand brushing against Travis Reed's shoulder. In the second, they were laughing by the valet stand. In the third, they were kissing inside his black Range Rover. Ethan didn't flinch. He stared at the photos for nearly 10 minutes, face empty, heartbeat slow. Then he neatly slid them back into the envelope and locked it in his drawer. That evening, Vanessa came home humming, smelling of whiskey and designer perfume. "You're up late," she said, pretending not to notice the look in his eyes. "Deadlines," he murmured. She kissed him on the cheek, something she hadn't done in months, and went upstairs. He sat there staring at the glowing lamp, his hand resting on the phone. His mother's words echoed in his mind. "Son, love without respect is a slow death." 2 days later, Detective Banks called again. "Mr. Cole, there's more. You might want to sit down for this." Ethan did. Banks sent an email containing paternity test results, one from an anonymous tip at a pediatric clinic Vanessa had recently visited. Grace and Liam's medical forms listed Travis Reed as an emergency contact. Cross-checking birth records revealed inconsistencies. Hospital staff remembered a Mr. Reed being present during Liam's delivery. Ethan's hand froze on the mouse. His eyes blurred as he reread the lines over and over. It felt like something inside him had died quietly, something too tired to scream. He stood, walked to the window, and watched the city lights blink like distant stars. Somewhere across town, Travis and Vanessa were probably laughing again, toasting their new beginnings. He whispered to the night, "All right, that's enough." That was the moment Ethan Cole stopped being the man who forgave. He became the man who planned. Ethan didn't sleep that night. The soft glow of the computer monitor illuminated his face as the PI's report sat open before him. Line after line, proof after proof. Every word felt like a slow knife carving away the last pieces of who he used to be. By sunrise, he had made his decision. When Vanessa woke up, he was already dressed. "You're up early," she murmured, stretching lazily. "Yeah," he replied, buttoning his shirt. "A lot to take care of." She smiled faintly, not knowing that a lot meant erasing her from every corner of his life. That week, Ethan took medical leave from work. To Vanessa, it looked like stress recovery. In reality, it was strategy. He met with attorney Ray Holloway, a man known for precision, not pity. "You sure you want to do this quietly?" Ray asked after reading the file. Ethan's eyes didn't flinch. "Quietly for now. I want her to believe I'm still broken." Over the next few weeks, Ethan sold his car, emptied their joint savings under the guise of medical expenses, and transferred his personal assets into a new trust under his mother's name. Vanessa didn't notice. Travis kept her too distracted with promises of luxury, secret getaways, and whispered love. Ethan began spending nights away, sometimes at hotels, sometimes at his mother's small home in Austin. He told Vanessa he was taking work trips. She barely pretended to care. But behind the calm, a meticulous web was forming. Ray Holloway helped him draft a separation plan disguised as a financial restructure. Detective Banks kept feeding him updates, locations, dates, receipts. Then one afternoon, Ethan visited his old office. His boss, a stern man named Peterson, pulled him aside. "Cole, I heard rumors about your wife and Reed. You okay?" Ethan smiled thinly. "I will be." Peterson hesitated. "You should know something. Reed's been sniffing around your contracts, trying to poach your clients." Ethan nodded. "Let him. He's playing checkers." That night, Ethan packed a single suitcase. He looked around the house one last time. The photos, the kids' toys, the empty champagne bottle from Travis's birthday. He placed his wedding ring on the dresser. Vanessa came home minutes later, surprised to see the suitcase. "You're leaving?" He met her eyes calmly. "For a while, I need to think." She crossed her arms, scoffing. "Fine. Maybe some space will help." He walked past her without another word. But just before stepping out the door, he paused. "Vanessa, when you look in the mirror, make sure you still recognize the woman you see." She frowned, confused. "What's that supposed to mean?" He didn't answer. The door closed softly behind him, the sound of a man walking out of his old life. Vanessa didn't know it yet, but that gentle exit was the start of something far more dangerous than anger. It was the beginning of her slow destruction. For 3 days, Vanessa heard nothing from Ethan. No calls, no texts, no updates. She assumed he was sulking somewhere, until his office called. "Mrs. Cole," Peterson said over the phone, "Ethan resigned this morning, effective immediately." Vanessa froze. "Resigned? That's impossible. He emailed me the paperwork personally," Peterson cut in. "Said he's taking a long break, maybe permanent." She ended the call, her chest tightening. She dialed his number again. Voicemail. The last message she'd sent him read, "You're being dramatic." Now it sat there unanswered. That evening, she drove to his mother's house in Austin. The old woman answered the door with red eyes and a calm smile that chilled her. "Vanessa," Mrs. Cole said softly, "Ethan's resting. He doesn't want visitors." Vanessa frowned. "Resting where?" The old woman didn't blink. "Where no noise reaches him." Then she closed the door. When Vanessa got back to Dallas, she noticed strange things. Their joint account was empty. Their home insurance and utilities were suddenly in her name. His clothes were gone. His personal phone was disconnected. 2 days later, a man in a black suit arrived at the house with sealed documents. "For Mrs. Vanessa Cole," he said. She signed distractedly. Inside the envelope were formal notifications. Divorce proceedings initiated. Power of attorney revoked. Property ownership transfer under legal review. Vanessa's heart sank. She grabbed her phone and called Travis. "He's gone," she said breathlessly. "Ethan's gone. Everything's gone." Travis chuckled. "Relax, babe. The guy's weak. He'll crawl back." But Ethan didn't. Weeks passed. Vanessa's social life began to crumble. The event company she managed started losing sponsors, quietly withdrawing one by one. Emails stopped coming. Contracts vanished. When she called for explanations, everyone gave the same polite excuse. Ethics review, legal freeze, we'll get back to you. Travis grew restless. His own firm's biggest project, a lucrative government contract, was suddenly delayed for audit concerns. He cursed the system, never realizing Ethan was the one pulling the strings from the shadows. Ethan had vanished into quiet power. From a rented condo under a new name, he watched their world unravel. Files open on his laptop, legal notices drafted by Holloway, corporate papers shifting ownership in silence. Each click of the mouse was deliberate. Each move stripped a little more control from the two people who had stolen everything from him. One night, Detective Banks visited. "You really want to keep this up, Mr. Cole?" he asked. "You've already taken their comfort. What's next?" Ethan leaned back, eyes cold but calm. "They took my trust, my family, my peace. I'm taking everything else, slowly, piece by piece, until they forget what safety feels like." Banks said nothing. He just nodded, because he understood. Ethan opened another folder marked Stage 2, Corporate Reversal. The next phase was no longer about disappearance. It was about return. 3 months after Ethan vanished, Dallas began whispering about a new company in town. Cole Engineering Group. It came out of nowhere, buying up subcontractors, winning stalled bids, and swallowing minor firms with quiet precision. The name was simple. The influence was terrifying. At a press briefing downtown, reporters asked who owned it. No one knew. Some said an international investor. Others said a retired magnate. No one guessed it was the man they thought had collapsed and vanished into silence. Ethan sat in a minimalist penthouse 30 stories above the city, watching the news in utter calm. His reflection in the glass no longer looked fragile. Tailored suit, controlled eyes. A man carved from patience. Attorney Ray Holloway stepped in with new documents. Phase 2 is complete. You now own 47% of Reed Construction. Indirectly, of course. The other stakes are being handled by our shell partners. Ethan took the file, flipping through quietly. "Good," he said. "I don't want them ruined yet. I want them comfortable, so they don't see the fall coming." Meanwhile, across town, Travis was pacing in his office, yelling into the phone. "What do you mean the project's frozen again? We've already invested millions." His assistant stammered, "Sir, the board said our partner firm changed ownership. Everything's pending new authorization." Travis slammed the desk. "Who the hell owns that firm?" No one could answer. Vanessa, sitting nearby in her designer coat, sighed impatiently. "You're overreacting. It's business." But Travis wasn't listening. Something about the name Cole Engineering clawed at the back of his mind. That evening, Vanessa returned home to find another letter at her doorstep. It wasn't from Ethan. It was from the county court. Notice of pending property audit. Her name appeared beside multiple red flags. Unpaid taxes, mortgage disputes, irregular asset transfers. She called her lawyer in a panic. "How is this possible? Everything was in our joint account before he left." Her lawyer's tone was measured. "Mrs. Cole, those accounts are legally frozen, and your ex-husband's filings show he's claiming fraudulent activity. If this proceeds, you could lose the house." Vanessa's world tilted. "You mean I could be homeless?" "I suggest you contact him," the lawyer replied softly, "before it's too late." But Ethan didn't answer her calls. He didn't block her either. He simply let every ring die on its own. Instead, that night, he attended a private dinner at a high-rise restaurant overlooking the same skyline where his wife used to host charity galas. Across the table, Dr. Maya Lewis smiled faintly. "I almost didn't recognize you," she said. "You look peaceful." Ethan smiled back. "Peace isn't free, doctor. It's something you earn after you stop caring who broke you." She studied him quietly. "And what will you do when they find out who you are?" He raised his glass, watching the golden city lights reflect in the wine. "Then I'll stop pretending." At that very moment across town, Travis Reed received a confidential memo from his financial officer. The subject line read, "Immediate board alert, majority ownership change." He opened it. His jaw went slack. Cole Engineering Group now owned 51% of Reed Construction. The man he betrayed was now his boss. 3 months later, the Reed Construction boardroom glittered with tension. Travis sat at the head of the table, sweat glistening beneath his collar. The company's new majority stakeholder had called for a full board review, and nobody knew who he was. The door opened. A man in a dark tailored suit entered, his calm presence swallowing the noise in the room. The executives rose instinctively, unsure why. He set down a slim leather briefcase and looked up. "Apologies for being late," he said evenly. Travis turned and froze. His throat went dry. "Ethan." The name slipped out before he could stop it. Ethan's expression didn't change. "It's Mr. Cole now. I believe you received the memo." The room went silent. Board members glanced between them, confused. Ethan opened his file, sliding a set of documents across the table. "As of last quarter, Cole Engineering holds 51% of this firm's shares," he continued smoothly. "Effective today, I'm assuming executive control." Travis's jaw clenched. "You planned this." Ethan cut him off gently. "No, you planned my downfall. I simply finished your work properly." Vanessa, sitting at the far end as a guest consultant, gasped when she saw him. Her voice trembled. "Ethan, you're alive?" He turned to her slowly, his gaze unreadable. "I never died, Vanessa. You just stopped looking." The board members shifted awkwardly. Ethan continued the meeting as if nothing personal existed between them, discussing budgets and contracts with surgical calm. Every word was measured, every signature precise. When the meeting ended, Travis followed him into the hallway, fury shaking his voice. "You think you can humiliate me?" Ethan stopped, facing him. "I don't need to humiliate you, Travis. I'll let your own arrogance do it." He leaned in slightly, his tone cold. "And don't worry, this isn't revenge. It's accountability." Vanessa stepped closer, eyes glistening. "Ethan, please, can we talk?" He raised a hand. "We have nothing to discuss, Mrs. Cole. Any future correspondence will go through my attorney." He walked away, leaving her standing in the polished hallway, her reflection warped in the mirrored walls. The realization finally sinking in that the man she betrayed now controlled the empire her lover depended on. Outside, cameras flashed as Ethan entered his car. Reporters shouted questions. "Mr. Cole, is it true you've acquired Reed Construction? Is this a merger or a takeover?" He simply smiled and replied, "A correction." The car door closed. The world outside erupted. Inside, Ethan's phone buzzed. A message from Attorney Holloway. Stage 3, reputation exposure begins Monday. Ethan leaned back, whispering, "Time to make them feel what silence really costs." Monday morning began with headlines. Reed Construction under ethics probe. CEO Travis Reed accused of conflict of interest and bribery. Every business outlet in Dallas carried the story. The photos were clean, professional, devastating. Leaked emails, offshore transfers, tax discrepancies. The evidence looked airtight. No one knew who sent them to the press, but the anonymous source had attached verified documents. Vanessa woke to the chaos. Her phone lit up with notifications and missed calls. She sat on the edge of the bed, trembling. "Travis, what's happening?" He paced the living room, shouting into his phone. "They froze my accounts. Somebody leaked internal reports. Who the hell did this?" Ethan, from his quiet office overlooking downtown, watched the press conference unfold live. Attorney Ray Holloway stood beside him. "Stage 4 complete," Ray said calmly. "The SEC has opened formal investigation. They'll subpoena Reed within days." Ethan sipped his coffee. "Good. Let the truth move faster than gossip." That same afternoon, Vanessa received an email from the county court. Notice of paternity challenge, filed by Ethan Cole. Her blood ran cold. She drove straight to Travis's house, waving the papers at him. "He's suing! He wants a DNA test for the kids!" Travis stared blankly. "He can't. They're legally his." "He can," she snapped. "If he proves infidelity before the divorce finalizes, everything changes. Assets, custody, even reputation." Across town, Ethan's attorney filed accompanying documents. Photos, receipts, statements, all lawfully obtained. His tone in the deposition was measured. "My client seeks only clarity, not vengeance." The media picked it up immediately. Reporters swarmed Vanessa's event studio, shouting questions about the affair, paternity fraud, and corporate corruption. Her sponsors withdrew within 48 hours. Her brand name, once printed on every Dallas Gala banner, vanished from invitations overnight. Travis's firm was next. Cole Engineering, now majority shareholder, motioned for emergency restructuring to protect stakeholders from reputational damage. The board voted unanimously. Travis Reed was suspended pending investigation. The same man who once toasted to loyalty and new beginnings was escorted out of his own office by security, cameras flashing, reporters screaming. Vanessa watched the footage on her phone, hands shaking. Every illusion she had built, the wealth, the status, the admiration, was collapsing like glass. Later that evening, her doorbell rang. A courier handed her a new envelope. Inside, official notice of eviction. Property foreclosure approved. Tears blurred her vision. No, this can't be happening. On the other side of town, Ethan stood on his balcony, city lights glimmering below. He wasn't smiling, just silent, controlled. Dr. Maya Lewis's voice echoed in his mind. When they break your heart, don't break back. Rebuild stronger. He looked out at the skyline and whispered, almost done. Tomorrow the court would open proceedings. Tomorrow humiliation would become law. The courtroom was full long before the session began. Reporters filled the benches. Flashes from cameras bounced off marble pillars. On the left sat Vanessa Cole, dressed in a pale suit, hands trembling as she clutched her lawyer's arm. Beside her, Travis Reed looked hollow, his confident grin replaced by sleepless eyes and a nervous jaw. At the far end, Ethan Cole sat silently, immaculate in a dark navy suit. No expression. No trace of anger. Just calm authority. His attorney, Ray Holloway, placed a thick binder on the desk, stamped Exhibit A, Paternity and Financial Fraud Case, 18-241. The judge entered. This court is now in session. Vanessa's attorney rose first, voice cracking. Your Honor, my client deeply regrets any personal mistakes, but insists Mr. Cole's claims are exaggerated and vindictive. Holloway stood slowly, his tone surgical. Your Honor, this isn't about emotion. It's about evidence. He opened the binder, page after page. Time-stamped photographs, hotel bills, bank transfers from Vanessa's joint account to Travis's company, falsified charity invoices, even the children's hospital birth records. Whispers filled the gallery. Then came the final blow. Holloway handed the judge 2 sealed envelopes. DNA test results for minors Grace and Liam Cole. The judge reviewed them quietly. The silence felt like a held breath before a storm. Then her gavel struck once. These children are not biologically related to Mr. Ethan Cole. Gasps erupted across the courtroom. Reporters scribbled frantically. Travis's face drained of color. Vanessa shook her head in disbelief. No, that's impossible. Ethan didn't move. He only blinked once, eyes fixed on her like a man watching a chapter close. The judge continued. Given the evidence of adultery, misrepresentation, and financial deception, this court dismisses all claims by Mrs. Cole for spousal support and marital property division. Furthermore, Mr. Reed is ordered to assume full financial responsibility for the minors effective immediately. Vanessa broke down, her sobs echoing against the chamber walls. She tried to reach across the aisle toward Ethan. Please, Ethan, please. You can't do this to me, to them. He finally spoke, softly, every word measured. You already did it to yourself, Vanessa. I just stopped pretending not to see. Travis slammed his hand against the table, furious. You set us up. Ethan turned to him with icy calm. No, Travis, I gave you the freedom you wanted. You just couldn't handle what it cost. The judge banged the gavel again. Order in the court. In the final ruling, Vanessa lost the house, all shared assets, and any rights to Ethan's estate. Travis's company shares were transferred under court authority to Cole Engineering Group pending settlement of fraud investigations. When it was over, reporters swarmed. Cameras captured the image that would headline every news outlet the next day. Vanessa collapsing to her knees on the courthouse steps, tears staining her makeup. Travis walking away without looking back, and Ethan standing still, silent, untouched. He didn't gloat. He didn't smile. He simply adjusted his cufflinks and said to the cameras, "Truth doesn't destroy people. Lies do." Then he walked down the courthouse stairs, the crowd parting like a tide. That was the moment his revenge became legend. But for Ethan Cole, it wasn't about victory anymore. It was about closure. A week after the court ruling, the city had moved on. But Vanessa hadn't. Her phone no longer rang. Her face had vanished from society pages. Her bank account sat at zero. She stayed in a small rented apartment on the edge of Dallas, curtains drawn, once white nails chipped from stress. Every knock on the door made her flinch. That evening, a courier delivered one last envelope. Inside a single page, notice of transfer. Cole Foundation Scholarship Award beneficiary, Grace and Liam Cole, now Reed. Full tuition and trust fund, approved by Ethan Cole. Her hands shook. Tears blurred the words. He had taken everything from her, yet still paid for the children's future. The gesture cut deeper than any punishment. Across town, Travis sat alone in a dim bar, drinking from a cheap glass. His company was gone, his reputation destroyed, his investors gone silent. A news ticker above the bar read, "Cole Engineering awarded National Infrastructure Contract. CEO Ethan Cole praised for integrity and innovation." Travis watched the screen, his reflection swimming in the amber liquid. "Integrity," he muttered bitterly. "Yeah, sure." But even he couldn't deny it. Ethan had won, not by rage, but by restraint. That same night, Ethan stood on the balcony of his penthouse, overlooking the Dallas skyline. The air was calm, almost forgiving. Dr. Maya Lewis joined him, her white coat replaced by a casual jacket, the night breeze lifting her hair. "You finally look alive," she said softly. Ethan smiled faintly. "I was dead for a long time. Pain buries you before it teaches you." She leaned on the railing. "Do you ever think about her?" He looked out at the horizon, city lights flickering like distant stars. "Sometimes, but not with anger anymore. I just wonder how someone can love gold so much they forget how to be human." He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wedding ring, the one he'd left behind months ago. He placed it on the rail, let it roll once, and drop into the night. Maya watched it disappear into the darkness below. "So that's it?" He nodded. "That's it." For a moment, neither spoke. The city hummed softly beneath them, life moving forward as it always did. Ethan turned, walking back inside, leaving the night and everything it held behind. Behind him, the skyline burned golden, not in anger, but in renewal. He had lost everything they thought defined him, only to rebuild everything they never imagined he could. And somewhere, far across the city, Vanessa sat clutching that scholarship letter, realizing too late that the man she humiliated had loved her far deeper than the one she betrayed him for. Now she lived in the ruins of her own choices. Ethan didn't need revenge anymore. He had something far greater: peace.